administrators got together, and it's called Questions That No Christians Can Answer. You know what they say, bigger they are, the harder they fall. And that's a pretty big claim. Well, I'm here to give my answers, so let the the video begin.
On YouTube.
If God is going to be posited for an explanation for human existence, then by what mechanisms, meaning by what activities and interactions that are organized in such a way that produced humans, did God use? And by what means could we discover those mechanisms?
Among even the most fundamentalist of Christians, there are always people who interpret some part of the Bible metaphorically. Like in the book of Job, they talk about the four corners of the earth. Even fundamentalist Christians, for the most part, interpret that as metaphorical, because we know there are no four corners of the earth. So when we find something in the Bible that doesn't necessarily reflect fact when interpreted literally, how can we definitively tell that that was intended to be interpreted metaphorically and not literally and is actually a falsehood?
Okay, I'm actually going to skip over this question for now, and you'll see why in a few minutes.
What are your reasons for not being a Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist, or follower of one of the many other non-Christian faiths? Is it because you've devoted enormous time and energy to systematically investigating and debunking all these other religions? If you haven't done this, how can you in all honesty claim that your religion is superior? And if you're only a Christian because you happen to have been born into a Christian family, or you were raised in a culture or society where Christianity is commonplace, what about all the other people who, by a twist of fate, have been raised believing one of the many other religions that God has allowed to proliferate?
Okay, so somebody didn't read the rules, because he didn't just ask one question, he asked a bunch there. Let's see if I can remember all of them. Did I go through debunking every other religion? Well, nah, because I don't really think it's my job to debunk things. I mean, sometimes one of you guys will say something stupid and I'll respond to it, might debunk in the process, but essentially, I have, and if you watch my video on why I reject atheism way back when I posted it, I gotta update a lot of these old videos. But essentially, yeah, I do know generally about every other religion. Hinduism, for example, will say contradict Christianity. It contradicts Christianity. So when Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, the life, no man may come to the Father except through me, well, either that's true or Hinduism's true. Hinduism, basically, what they like to do is they like to grab a god from everything and, say, well, this is another one of the gods in our religion. Can't really do that. I mean, it's just not logical. So right out there, Hindus out the park. I can't really go into every religion here, but generally, yes, I have read through and I have looked at and I have found reasons not to believe in other religions. Now, what about those who have never heard? 100 different ways I could answer that. My personal favorite is that God will deal justly with every one of them. If they die and they never got the opportunity to hear it, he'll judge them by their life or, I don't know exactly. I'm not really prepared to go into all that. That's more of a Frank Turk question. But, yeah, there's my answer.
Kyle asked me to come up with a question for Christians. I had a really hard time choosing just one. I mean, much of the Bible makes no sense at all, but I wanted to choose a question that really gets to the heart of the religion, and one that would apply to most, if not all, Christians, no matter their denomination. And so I decided to go with the supposed resurrection of Jesus Christ and the reason why he had to die in the first place. Here's my question. Why would an omnipotent, all-powerful God need a human sacrifice in order to forgive people their sins? If this being is truly capable of doing anything, has unlimited power and resources, and is all-loving, why would it require a brutal torture and killing? Why would it need a blood sacrifice and not just simply forgive people their sins? especially if it knew their motivations and could judge people according to their intentions. This question has always baffled me, even when I was a Christian. Anyhow, thanks for inviting me to take part in this video, Kyle.
Alright, so you notice he brought up a lot about God there. You know, God's all-knowing, he knows things, and whenever people bring up God, they conveniently forget to bring up one thing. They'll either bring up how he's all-powerful, all-knowing. They always tend to forget, for some reason, he's also all-just. To simply forgive someone, especially varying on the degrees of what they did, you know, you never go up to Adolf Hitler and be like, all right, dude, don't do that again now. You wouldn't do that. So God, in being perfectly just, must punish evil when he sees it. And, you know, he came down and he took the punishment. I think the word you're looking for there is thank you.
Cheers.
A variety of religions, from ancient Greek beliefs to Native American beliefs, both past and current, account for gods that have relationships with their believers and with their servants. Why do you feel like the relationship that you claim to have with Jesus Christ is somehow special or unique and somehow invalidates how all other believers feel about their gods and their connections with their gods?
Hello, everyone.
Okay, so imagine that there's two people, well, there's four actually, but they're in two relationships. Two people, one in each relationship. So there's four people in two relationships. Okay, so imagine we have two relationships. In relationship A, the man tells the woman that he loves her, but he beats her and mistreats her and cheats on her. Now, in relationship B, we have a man who tells his wife that, you know, he loves her, and he treats her nicely, he gets her things, buys her flowers, does all this stuff for her. Well, what makes relationship B any better than relationship A? Well, I believe the short one-word answer would be, you know, evidence. There's not a lot of evidence in relationship A that the man actually loves his wife there. A lot of evidence in relationship B. That would be my answer to this question. I believe that I have, you know, let's compare Christianity to Mormonism. I believe I have very strong evidence Christianity is true, and Mormonism lacks that evidence. I can be secure in my faith. That is the difference. And if they think they're secure in theirs, well, hey, wouldn't it be the first bad decision they made?
Hello, everyone. In the Old Testament, God didn't like all the unrighteous people on earth. So why did God choose to get rid of all of them with a global flood? Presumably, he could have made them painlessly vanish with a silent snap of his immaterial fingers. And why, after flooding the whole earth, did God decide to hide all evidence of his act?
One important thing to remember about the flood is that it was a punishment. To ask why God did not make it more bearable or more comfortable is like asking, when we send a murderer or a pedophile to jail, you know, why do we send them to jail? Why not just give them a comfy, cozy cell, big flat screen TV, a comfy mattress, and give them the best gourmet food? Because it's not supposed to be fun, it's a punishment. It's like, you know, I hear people talk about, if I ever caught anyone touching my child, I'd do the most painful thing to them. I never once had someone say, if I caught someone molesting my child, I would very, very kindly, slowly kill them. Make it very painless. Kind of gets in the way of a punishment. Also, the last thing he said about God hiding all evidence of the flood is complete bullcrap. We could get into that. We could talk about different flood hypothesis, but there is evidence out there that there was a global flood. He actually has to back up that claim, not me. It's not my job to debunk bullcrap.
Why is it that the believers in every religion in history were wrong about their respective religion, despite having the same amount of conviction and evidence as you do for Christianity? It seems to me that you're already an atheist when it comes to all other religions in history, but somehow the one you happen to be born into is the one correct one.
If God
Plot twist, I wasn't born into any religion. I grew up in an atheistic household. I feel like I've already addressed the why is your belief better with my relationship analogy. Once upon a time, actually in Egyptian mythology, I believe that they taught a type of evolution. They taught that people evolved from seaweed. Now we have a different theory of evolution. Well, why is today's theory of evolution any better than theirs? Simply because there's more evidence for it, and therefore you can be more sure it's true. There's been different theories of evolution, different theories of gravity. Why are some better than others? Because some are true and some are false. That's it.
God is all-powerful and all-loving. Why does he require blood in order to grant forgiveness? Old Testament or New, something had to die before he could forgive anyone. Human beings can forgive each other without there being a death first. Why can't God?
What is this, repeat dumb questions day? I already went into it. God is perfectly just. Everyone forgets that. That is now 2 atheists that have described God, and they focused on powerful and all-knowing, and, none of them brought up all just. They keep forgetting that. Stop it, and that would probably be the answer to a lot of your questions.
If you've never been to the ends of the earth, if you've never been to every planet, if you've never been to the corners of the universe, how do you know other gods don't exist?
Okay, so remember how I skipped over genetically modified skeptics' question, and I said I'd bring it up later? Okay, here it is. For all you who don't remember, genetically modified skeptics' question was, the Bible describes the earth as having ends in the 4 corners. How do you know this is metaphorical? Well, a real great way to start that would be to try and figure out what the point is. If I told you trust your gut, you wouldn't think I'm an idiot who thinks that your gut has a feeling. Same thing with the person who just asked us questions, the corners of the universe. You really think she's an idiot and doesn't know that the universe or the world doesn't have corners? She said the ends of the earth. Haha, what an idiot. Doesn't know the earth doesn't have ends. Ha, it's a globe. Duh. That wasn't the point to a question. We can determine what is metaphysical, what is metaphorical, and not meant to be taken literally by the point that's trying to be made here. Alright, now, to actually answer her question, the only thing I know is that I know nothing. Someone could, we could be a simulation and aliens come and they have this book called the Bible and they could be tricking everyone into thinking it. But essentially, it goes back to my analogy about the people in the 2 relationships. How do you know the people in relationship relationship B have a better relationship than the relationship A? How do you know the man in relationship B actually loves his wife and the person in relationship A doesn't? Now you could say you don't know it. The person in relationship B could just be treating his wife nice for a different reason, but then we'd have to get into hypotheticals that aren't founded. The evidence supports it. And Christianity is a contradictory religion in the sense that if it is true, other religions cannot be. Logical deduction plays a big part in this.
There are thousands of other religions out there, many of which have millions of followers. So according to your logic and theirs, anyone who is a blasphemer to your particular deity is going to be condemned, whether it is to go to hell or to be reincarnated as a less intelligent animal. If your God is true, why is it that he would even allow the minds of humans to be so easily deceived into believing other religions? He essentially would have created brains that can be fooled and ultimately will send these people down to hell. In addition, how do you know you're not one of the people who have been fooled?
It's funny, I actually ask myself this question every time I talk to an atheist. Essentially, what Professor Stick is asking here is, if God is real, why did he make us all so stupid? There actually was this skit I was going to do one time where it was going to be called Trey Becomes an Atheist, and it was going to be me getting pushed over the edge by atheists saying dumb things and being like, no, it can't be true. We cannot be made in the image of an all-powerful God, and yet these people are so stupid. I can't believe it. There is no God. And, it's something that never came to pass, but I was going to do it. So, I don't think that people are stupid because God made them stupid. I think some people are stupid because of this thing called willful ignorance. And anyone who seriously takes the claims of religion seriously and the Bible and actually goes through and tries to figure out what religion could be true, I think they will settle on Christianity. Some people want to believe what they want to believe. It's kind of like when Matt Dillahunty says, if God knows what it takes to convince me, why doesn't he just convince me? Well, see, I think God does know what it would take to convince Matt Dillahunty. The answer is nothing. Matt Dillahunty has always made the decision he doesn't want to be convinced. Every time someone brings something up to him, he shoots it down. That's not evidence. Those are claims. That was going to be in the video about how atheists are so stupid they make me lose my faith. But, essentially, yeah, it's not God's fault. God didn't make you dumb and stupid. I think some people want to be dumb and stupid.
Truth doesn't fear curiosity, testing, or doubt, which inoculate us against charlatans and scams. But if your beliefs stand up to scrutiny, then why is doubting Thomas vilified as the bad guy for utilizing the scientific method, while the rest of the disciples are congratulated for following like blind sheep?
Alright, tell me you have no idea what you're talking about without telling me you have no idea what you're talking about. The reason for doubting Thomas to be condemned is because he was given evidence. The other disciples weren't congratulated for following like blind sheeple. If the story is true, that means the disciples were there to see Jesus perform his miracles and tell him to tell, hey, I'm going to rise from the dead. If I tell you, if I show you miracles and I do all these things in front of you and I say I'm going to rise from the dead too, and then suddenly I come back and you don't believe me, I might sit there and go, what, was the freaking water to wine part not clear enough? Doubting Thomas is not vilified because he doubted. He doubted when he had evidence that he was wrong, that Jesus truly had risen from the dead. Kind of like Matt Dillahunty, somebody who has been given evidence beyond a reasonable amount of doubt and still just wants to stick their head into the sand and go, nope, don't believe it, doubt, 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 doubt. I'm so skeptical. Yeah, the disciples were not blind sheeple. They had good reason to believe what they believed. Thomas wanted to be a pain in the rear. That's why he's vilified.